Hello, uh, good morning. Have some people here? Yes. Okay. So, good morning. Welcome to the second session of this ERNI Academy topic that, as you know, is about the branching strategy selector that we have conceived and we have created in in ERNI for the ERNI services department, which provides knowledge for other people in ERNI who want to have some questions about some topic. This department in ERNI, the ERNI services, also provides this knowledge or help. And now we are forwarding this information to this also another department of the ERNI company, which is the ERNI Academy, which is it's providing some information publicly available on this kind of channels, but also on the web and also with some pages. Okay. So today we're going to continue in the session that we did last week. Can we have this? Yeah. Okay. So today, as you see, this is the second session, and it's about Git workflows, branching strategy selector. Today we will showcase. We will have a demo, and we also have a review of last session, and we will also add new content. Okay. 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 The objective for this session after attending, well, basically is to learn how to use how it works and how to use this branching strategy select. Okay. And also you will have some more knowledge about these concepts. Okay. But the point is to have to choose your branching strategy for your project, basically, with not randomly, not with a wheel of fortune. And we can see this wheel of fortune here. It's more like with some knowledge and also with some, if possible, with some knowledge, but also with a selector which helps you without having so much knowledge. Okay. The target audience for this session, basically, it's for managers, for product owners, who have to decide, people who have to decide, software architects. They have to manage, create this group, and they know better how this software works. And project managers who need to handle the people and the deliveries, the releases, the tickets, the bugs. DevOps engineers will have, they're supposed to already know about these concepts, but maybe they will learn something, and also they can maybe provide some feedback. And of course, it's also for developers. Okay. Okay. The contents for this session number 2. On the left, you have the contents for the first session. We will have a short recap of it, but today we will see the items that are useful for selecting a branching strategy. I mean, as you know, you need to know how your project works, and then you have to ask some questions, and we will see which kind of questions we have to ask to get to know which strategy is better for us. We will also see the components of a Git workflow, and finally, we will see how the branching strategy selector works. We will see an explanation, and later, finally, we will have a demo of this selector. We have a label with it's a software. It's not a web page yet, but we will see how it works. Okay. Okay. To start, we will go through a very quick, very fast recap of last session. It's so fast. I'm going to speak so fast. Well, not so fast, but I will scroll through some slides very fast. So it's not intended that you can read everything. It's just to remind you when you have seen last session. If you have not seen it, you can go into the Twitch archive. It's there. So it's going to be a very quick recap. So you may not have time to even to read. I will just read the titles. Okay. Okay. So last week we talked about, we defined what are the branching strategies, what are the Git workflows, and the branching patterns. Okay, so the branching strategy is the most important part of a Git workflow. It can be maybe the only one. Okay, but it's one of components of what is called a Git workflow. Okay. And then also last week we saw branching patterns. Branching patterns are it's another level. It's the components of a branching strategy. So a branching strategy has one or more branching patterns. Okay. Branching patterns are actually convention. It's a way of sharing and integrating developer changes. It can also be a way of managing the path to production, how we deploy these changes, how do we deliver. And the branching strategy, as I said, is a set of branching patterns. Okay, so basically, these things, branching strategies, patterns, also workflows, as you see here it's like a checklist. It's like a checklist on how you do some things relating to here, like to how to branch, how to join your changes. Okay, because what's the point of this? I mean, the point is that humans give branches a meaning, give them an identity. For your tool, for your Git, for your Subversion, branches are just bytes, are part of a database. But for humans, for developers, these branching patterns, they have an identity. It's like something which is even feelings. I mean, you say, oh, you have done this on the release branch, you cannot do that. So that's how we have to agree on some of these conventions on what to do and what we cannot do. Okay, so it's conventions for code development, how to work, how to do, etc. I mean, we also saw that the benefits of using a branching strategy is basically we don't have inconsistent practices. We have a clear log history, not a mess. We did a whole section about minimizing merge conflicts, which is a very important part because it can take time, a lot of time for that. Okay. And from the company level, as we said, choosing a proper one, it can save up to 20 or 40% in developer time. Okay, we did a survey with that. We introduced this joke, I mean, about merge conflicts. It's about something nobody wants to have. And in this joke here, the guy on the right, he tells his colleague to come here so he can make a commit, so he avoids having merge conflicts, and the merge conflict would go to the poor guy on the left side. Okay. We also saw the difference between merging and rebasing when joining branches. Merging is adding a new commit here, and rebasing is adding your changes and the end of move them from here to here. Okay. And we saw the equivalence between Subversion because this concept also exists in Subversion. Okay, it's explained on the other session. And we also saw some tips about minimizing merge conflicts. One of the most important tips I gave you is to talk and explain what you are doing so you can prevent merge conflicts in advance. Okay. And we also saw these branching patterns. I'm not going to go through them. But we saw the branching patterns like the mainline integration. It's a continuous line about development. The feature branch, something everybody has done. It's the blue and orange here. Okay, it's a parallel isolated development. Continuous integration, it's a kind of branching pattern when the agreement is to share continuously, precisely to minimize merge conflict. Okay. What the branching patterns for releasing, we saw the hotfix branch is something everybody knows, which is taken from production, and the release branch, which is a branch that has a long life and is supposed to be stable and good. Okay, it's for delivering something to the customer. Okay, up to here the delivery. Okay, well, still not even 10 minutes. Okay, so now we start with new contents. Okay, and we will see now the Git workflows. Okay. As we have seen before, the branching strategy is one of the parts of the branching strategy, the most important. But there are also other items like these hexagons here, which can be things like that. I mean, the document workflow policies. I mean, the software architect makes a document explaining how to do this, how to do that, how to deliver. We have to do this thing, use this script, these kind of things. This is part of a Git workflow. It also can be, for example, like, oops, sorry. It also can be like how to handle issues, how to branch the names. Okay, you will have to branch the name, the branch, like underline with the Jira ticket, whatever. Okay. How we do the working style, how to join with merge or with rebase. This can be part of the branching strategy, but it can also be a part of the Git workflow. How we release, okay, when to merge and when to rebase, when to squash or not to squash, to have meaningful conflicts. Squash means, as we said always, if you have a feature branch, we squash all the commits in one or two to make them more not to bring a lot of commits to the mainline. Okay. The selection of the version control system is also part of Git workflow. We can use Git in some places. We can use a binary repository. We can use a version for some scripts. It depends. Another important part, also if we will be using a wrapper layer over the version control system, like Microsoft Team Foundation Server, some Git client, whatever. Okay. It also says if we have which kind of code review method we're going to use. Are we going to use pull request, or we will just do some standard code review in person? Yeah, and also, for example, the commit style, message style, and the content. What you have to write in your commit message. It's very important that you write a ticket. It's very important that you do that. It's very important that you clean them before you merge. These kind of things. Okay. Also, another things is like I have not written here. It's the deployment strategies. It's here. The releasing policy. Because if you work, for example, in DevOps, there are some kind of styles of strategies. If you work in firmware, there are also kind of other, like how to release the binaries, etc. Okay. Another part of the Git workflow can be, for example, the automatic versioning. Automatic versioning, which is usually done with semantic versioning, which is also known as SEMVer. It's abbreviation. Okay. You can check all the information in this web, because it's a standard. Actually, it's a standard that everybody or many people agrees to use, and it basically uses the concept of the version like X, Y, Z, means major, minor version, major number, minor number, and patch. For example, 2 is the major number, 1 and 45 is the patch number. Okay. And basically, this means, this is defined in this document, that when you change the patch number, it's just some delivered code. Well, I make it the other way. When you change the major number, means that the changes are incompatible. This breaks or may break backwards compatibility. If you just change the minor number, it's that you have made some important changes, but it does not break the backwards compatibility. And if you change the patch number, it's just a number, but it does not break, of course, the backwards compatibility. Semantic versioning is opposed to calendar versioning, which uses the day, the year, the build number, the release number, the week. It's different. It's more automatic. Okay. And this automatic versioning, which it can use with tools like this tool is here, Git version. It's a tool that it can be integrated into your repository, so it generates changes automatically. Okay. So now here, as part of these Git workflows, we can also have this thing, the releasing policy. It's for example, for people who works on DevOps, it's the deployment strategies. Okay. Basically, this defines how to release new versions. Okay. And it works for tools like Kubernetes, for Azure DevOps, or Terraform. Some of these tools, they have it out of the box, and in some of them, you have to do them manually through what it's called the pipelines. Okay. And the most important types of deployment strategy are the ones here. I mean, like basic deployment, multi-service deployment, rolling deployment, canary deployment, blue-green deployment, and A/B testing. We will see them now, a couple of them. This one here is the most primitive one. It's the basic deployment. It's like you have this on the before and after. So you switch between versions, like with everything. You power off, you turn on, and you have all your the new version is goes out in red, and the new one it goes in green. Here we have the two most famous deployment strategies that they are used nowadays. One is called the blue-green deployment, another is the canary release. Okay. In the blue-green deployment, what people has to do is to have two duplicated environments, the new and the old, that switch between green, which is the active, and blue, which is the inactive. And it's very easy to use, but it takes a lot of resources because you have to duplicate. And the point here is that when you switch, you see some problems, you can then switch to the old one, and you can stop the malfunctioning. Okay. The canary deployment in the right, the point is to deploy incrementally. So you have some nodes here, which are in black here. First, you start by deploying just 3 of them. Okay, you see it works. So then you go into another phase. You switch 3 more. You see that it's still working. And finally, you go into phase 3. Okay, by small phases. Okay. And this thing that we saw last week, the squash and merge, the squash before merging or rebasing. Some of the branching strategies, they have it as part of them, but some of them do not define them, so you can choose to do it if you like. For example, you can use trunk-based development, but you have to set a rule. You say, okay, in this we're doing trunk-based development, where we will do a squash before rebasing. We will not do merging. We'll do rebasing or merging. Okay, so that's can also be a part of a Git workflow. Okay. Okay, that's it for the Git workflow. So it's basically something which can be optional to define or not. Okay. On last day, we saw the most important branching strategies. Today, we will review. We will just remember them, and we will see 3 more that we didn't do because it was too many things to discuss. Okay. It will not take much longer my explanation. Okay. So okay, the most popular branching strategies are the ones on the left. The first one I will explain later. It's the gitflow, GitHub flow, trunk-based development, oneflow, and gitlab flow, which is the ones that are more popular today. For our branching strategy selector, we will have selected all of them. It's none, the simple man workflow, the git flow, GitHub flow, gitlab flow, oneflow, continuous integration, a simplified version of git flow, centralized workflow, oneflow plus or extended, and one other which is called forking workflow. Okay, I mean, these things are it's just convention, as we have said. It's just conventions. Everybody can make its own, or you can choose one and then make some variations to it. It's up to you. You have just to discuss it. Okay, and remember that the branching strategy consists of one or more branching patterns, like continuous, like hotfix, release patterns, release branches. Okay. As I said here, the first one I didn't want to mention so much. It's because it's an anti-branching strategy, or an anti-pattern, if you like, because it's not something that is not considered to be a branching strategy, but they exist and people they use them, and perhaps they are, or they have been the most used strategies in history of development. But it's this one I'm mentioning again. It's the zip files. It's storing your version in zip files, which is actually it's very bad, but it's better than nothing, of course. None is just committing, or what I call none is to just have no branching, or it can also be called a single developer. Okay, an anarchy is that every developer makes what he likes or what she likes, and it has its own rules. And this happens, or it has happened in many times. So everybody makes its own system. It's of course not recommended, but it can be possible, and as long as there are no fights or conflicts in the personal meaning between developers or the project manager, it's no problem to use it, to be anarchist in terms of branching. Okay, last week we saw this also, the git flow structure. Very quickly, I will recap. It's a very complicated or complex strategy. it's so complicated that it has also plugins with Microsoft Visual Studio or with Linux command line. So you have, okay, I'm going to make a release, so you don't have to type bare Git commands. Okay. So basically, it has a master branch where the hotfixes come. It's very important. It has a develop branch where all the feature they come, and also where the release branches they come from. And the important thing here is that hotfixes they have to go into develop, and changes in develop they have to go into master at some time. That's why it's so complicated, and that's why we use plugins to use it, because sometimes people they make a change, they make a hotfix and they don't put it back in develop, or they make a change here and they don't put it in the release branch. So you have to take care of all of this. So the picture is very nice. You see these colors, but it can be very complex, and it can generate very complex, very messy log histories. Okay. The GitHub flow structure is very simple. It basically consists that you are only doing feature branches, and when they are ready, you make a pull request. If there are some changes to do, you fix them, and finally you join them back into the master branch. Okay. And as we saw, there are some in-betweens that we will see now a bit more in detail today. Okay. I mean, for example, the two most famous are oneflow and gitlab flow, which claim to be a middle point with the complexity of gitflow and the extreme simplicity and not feature rich of GitHub flow. Okay. These two they claim to be very flexible and scalable. Okay. So for example, we have this other branching strategy. It's called simplified gitflow, which is basically a subset of gitflow without release branches. Instead of having a release branch, you just have tags in the master. Okay, this is version 2.1, and it's just a point in master. Okay. The hotfix branches they come from master the same way, and master is supposed to be deployed automatically without problems. It intends to have develop ready to deploy, but this might not be so easy to achieve. Okay. And as usual, you have small branches from develop, which are merged back into develop. And long life features are still possible, but they are, in this case, they are discouraged. Okay. So we have this picture here. You have master here. You have develop. You have a hotfix here from master, and then you have to integrate this change into develop. And also you can, I didn't find another picture, but you can also have features from develop. They will come from here, and they will come back into develop, and then they will have to go back into master. But you don't have release branches here. Okay. Another branching strategy which has become famous in the latest years. I think it was created in 2016 or something. It's called oneflow, which, as I said before, it claims to be quite powerful, but not so complicated as gitflow. Okay, it allows, of course, feature branches, hotfix branches, and also release branches. Okay, it's not recommended for continuous deployment, and it's also not recommended if you only have to create if you only have to have a single version in production. One of the features of this branching strategy is that integration is done with rebase instead of merge. The author insists on that, and this way the log history becomes much cleaner, because otherwise you can have lots of branches coming out from develop or from master, and one came at this time, the other came at this time, and you can have a complete mess. If you're doing merges, you can have a complete merge in your log history. So to avoid this mess, what you have to do is to do a rebase when joining into the master branch. Okay. The author also proposes another variation of this oneflow, which is called oneflow. I call it extended. Okay. Adds a bit more. It's at a bit more of complexity by using a develop branch for integrating. This ensures that master is always ready for deployment, because if you have some issues, you will have them in this develop branch, in this intermediate develop branch. Okay. Oops. Oh, what's this? Oh, I forgot the GitLab. Oh, I think I messed with my slides. I forgot to mention. Excuse me. I will. Um, so I forgot to talk about GitLab Flow. It's simpler than Gitflow. It's more complex than GitHub Flow. It has 11 rules, not only related to version control system, also related to testing and deployment. And the point is that it has intermediate branches such as production and staging. Okay, and the main point here is that you cannot merge if the tests are not passed. So the criteria for merging is very strict. You have to make sure that your code that you publish is it works. Okay, this way, since the testing with testing, it promotes automatic deployment. You can make sure that you can put like a service that is deploying continuously, like every day or every week, because you are sure that every day you have code that works. Okay. Sorry for this, because I thought I had this slide somewhere, but it went away. Okay, sorry for that. Oops. Yeah. Okay. No, it's okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and the last one that we will see is the fork workflow. Basically, this is used in open source projects. Basically, every developer has its own. Every developer has its own repository or a clone of its own repository. This is a feature that GitHubs allow. When you go to GitHub and you go into a repository, you can also say clone me. It says, okay, then you can clone that. You clone it, and there you can make all the commits or the pushes you like. And when at some point the project owner or the integrator, he says, okay, you have done this feature. Yes, it's there in my repo. Okay, I will go and pick it. So only the project owner has permission for that, and he goes to probe them from the other people repositories. You don't push; it's them. It's the manager who pulls them. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's it. Okay. So 27 minutes. Okay. Now, so finally, we are here with what this project is about. The brand. Finally, we are going to see what is it and how it works. Okay. It's the branching strategy select. Okay. Is it useful? I mean, if before these sessions you didn't have any idea about these branching patterns and strategies, still it's a complex issue, because even me, for example, have never used GitLab Flow, for example, or these other ones. The one I use in my personal project, it was a variant of oneflow, but I didn't know that oneflow existed. So it's something like that, no? But uh, so basically, this selector will help you to select, even if you know or you don't, if you don't know about these things, it will help you choose reliably and effortless a branching strategy. It will save you days of reading and asking, okay, this GitLab flow, I heard it's useful. Can you tell me? Oh no, it's very complicated. Oh no, don't use it. So this one, you will ensure you will pick a good one, okay? Because using a wrong one, it's maybe worse than not having branching strategy at all. Okay. And yeah, of course, why to use it? Well, it's already said. Okay, it will save you time and money, and it will avoid to end up with workflows that are too complicated or too simple, not clearly defined, and also because there is no best branching strategy, or there is no one size fit all. Okay, so some people are used to some workflow and some strategy. Oh, this one is the best, but maybe it was the best for that project that you work with, but maybe not for the project you're going to work with now. Okay. Okay, and how it works? How to choose? So the selector, as the branching strategy selector, as the name says, what will do for you is to pick for you a branching strategy, one from one of the currently available 11. Okay, and how? There are some questions you have to answer. And when you answer these questions, this will automatically tell you which one is the best for you. The questions are the inputs, if you like, okay? We have like 49 questions, which are actually, some of them, it's like 20 because, but it's like, okay, how many developers? If you have one developer, it's one option. You have 1, 2, 3 is another option, but you can choose within 49 criteria or that, okay? You have to answer the most relevant, only the most relevant one for your project, okay? And these questions are very easy to answer because since you are the product owner or the project manager, you know them. It's like when you go and buy a car and you go into the dealer and he asks you, okay, what are you going to use your car for? Are you going to use it to go to commute to work, or you're going to use it for traveling for skiing in the mountains or to going to the beach once a week, or what do you want it for? Okay, so it is kind of questions. Okay, it's questions that you know. Okay, and you answer, you sort them, and you just pick the most relevant. Okay, and discard those which are irrelevant. Okay, because if you choose too many, there might be incompatibilities, and if you choose too few questions, there will be still too many options to choose from. Okay. You see the question is like questions like this, like number of developers, the deployment frequency, expected project duration, are you going to run a single version or different custom, how large is your test coverage? Okay, these are the questions. Okay, we have them here listed. Okay, I'm not I'm not going to read them all, but it's like the duration, as I said, the existing code base size, if you have one or more repositories, which kind of application it is. It's a firmware, it's a mobile app, it's a web service, single version. How often do you integrate? Integrate, we mean your developer changes. Do you integrate with merge or with rebase? Do you do squashing? Do you have error tolerance in production? I mean, like the code that it has to be deployed, does it have to work, or you can have some tolerance? Depends. What will be your testing strategy or coverage? Are you allowing release? Do you want release branches? Do you want feature branches? Okay. The deployment frequency. How often are you going to deploy? This is one of the most important parameters. Okay. Maybe for your project it's not important, but it's one of the most important. This is basically which this makes a great divide with some kind of strategies and others. Okay. And all that. There are also then some subjective selection criteria. It's like if you work in person, in remote, this is not like explicit questions, but then it's up to you. When you have several choices, then you can, maybe this one will work because we are working in remote and we don't want to make things too complicated. Okay, then, or also for your personal or corporate habits and prejudices. Okay. Sorry. If some guys, they don't like one strategy, even if it's one of the proposed ones, you will end up not using it. Okay. Also, the fact that how does it work? Okay. Now with this table, it's quite easy to see how it works. Okay. By the way, I want to ask you something for the people who are watching. Think about your project, the project you are working now, or the project you are going to work, or some imaginary project, and try to answer these questions. And then you can maybe, when we do the demo, you can ask them in the comment sections, and we will try to simulate it and see which one is the most important, is the one that fits more for your project. Okay, so if you see these questions, I mean, even if you don't remember all of them, but you get the idea. Try to write down, and after the demo, you can ask me, and we will try to simulate for you. Okay. Okay, back here. As we see with this table, we will see how this works. Okay. In this table, this is an imaginary table. I mean, it's not, as you can see, in blue we have the branching strategy, which is the output here. As you see, this is the output. Okay. it's just an example, so we have not named them. Okay, this is the output, and the inputs are the columns here. Okay, which are also here fictitious. We have not given any real name to them. So how it works? You have to select from 2 to 5 columns, and then we will automatically have one or more branching strategy for you. That's how it works. Okay. You just have to pick a few of them, a few of these columns. Okay. So you see, in each column we have, you see, these ticks. Okay. If it's not set, like here, it means that this criterion is not relevant for this branching strategy number 4. Okay. Or for number strategy or for number 6, it's also non-relevant, which means it is possible. But it means, okay, it can work with that, but if you don't have it, it's okay also for me, for this strategy. Okay. When in the column you have an okay tick, this means that this criterion is very good for this branching strategy. And when you have a no, like a cross here, a red cross here, this means that this criterion is incompatible with this branching strategy, like number 7 and number 8. Okay, so in order to select for the branching strategy to be selected as the output, it needs to be okay for at least one column, and not to have any red click. Okay, when we see and then of course we will make in black the ones we are not using, and we will see which one it fits better. Okay, as I said before, some selection parameters are redundant, others are incompatible. For example, when we have a high deployment frequency, we will approximately have the same branching strategy as if we have high test coverage, because you cannot deploy frequently without having a proper high test coverage. So it's common sense. Okay, and in the other way, a high deployment frequency, it's supposed to having a low test coverage. Okay, for the same reason. Okay. Okay, here we have a mock-up example from the table. Okay, so for this example, we select criteria number 2 and number 4, which are fictitious. Okay, I made this table in purpose just to make meaningful examples. Okay, so from here we see that strategies number 1 to number 4, since all of them they have a red cross here, they are rejected. Okay, and even number 4, even if it has an okay here, since it has a cross here, we cannot choose the number 4. Okay, on the other way, number 6, 7, and 8, they are both in green and without any red. Okay, so these 3 are possible, and from these 3, number 7 and number 8 are better than number 6 because they have more okay ticks. Okay, I think it's very visual. I think you can understand it. Okay, it's very straightforward. Okay, and that's what the algorithm make. Okay, so we have this example here, number 1, and okay, we want more precision. Okay, so we select another criteria, which is going to be criterion number 7. Okay, now we select also criterion number 7, and now the selection becomes still we have these 4 which are rejected, number 1 to number 4. If we compare, I'm switching between slides. If we compare with the previous one, now we see that number 5 would be also possible. Okay, but in the tie between number 7 and number 8, now number 8 wins because it has 3 okay ticks. Okay, so for this example, with these three criteria, number 2, sorry, I cannot click on the PowerPoint. So here we have this. Sorry for the mess. I come back to number 1. We have here. So which we would choose number 8. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm too many keys, too many mouses. Okay, we go with our mock-up example, which is also made up. Okay, this one it's selecting number 1 and number 5. We select number 1 and number 5, and we get the opposite as before. Now, from number 5, 6, 7, and 8, they are rejected because they all have some cross on it, even if they have some some of them. And then here we would choose with number 1 or number 2, up to you, depending on your personal preferences. Okay, and number 3 would also be possible. I mean, okay. Okay, now before we had these mock made up examples, now we go with 2 real world, some actual examples. Okay, but not with a table. Okay, we have, for example, a project which is, and I remind you, if you have some examples that you want to ask, write them down and ask me later in the comments. Okay. Imagine we have a long project duration from 7 to 5 developers with 3 teams with an existing code base. We have to maintain several products and customers, and we have low test coverage. So the answer, based on the selector, but also by common sense, is that, for example, gitflow would be a good example. Would be the best selection here. Oneflow would be possible, actually. Oh, we have a question from Marine2256. If we get it right, we filter the branching strategy based on whether they fit or not the criteria selected. Exactly, as we explained here. Sorry, it's a question. So if it has one green tick, it's a possible ticket. But if it has only one red tick, we reject it. Okay. So the rejection has more power than the okay. Yes. Okay. So let's get back with the example. We have these examples, and for this one, we had that gitflow is good, is the best one. Oneflow is not good, and in this case, GitHub Flow would not be good because it's a too complex project for using with a simple strategy. Okay. In this another example, we have to deliver frequently with continuous deployment. We only have 3 developers in the same team. There's no existing code base. We only have to maintain 1 version in production, and we're supposed to have a high test coverage. In this case, it's the other way around. The good one is GitHub Flow. Gitflow is absolutely not recommended. And then trunk-based development, and I wrote this some time ago, but another option would be GitLab Flow, better than OneFlow. Okay, so this is not really actually correct. Okay, so that's 2 examples. You get some criteria, and you get some branching strategy which are okay and some which are not okay. Next, finally, we're going stop talking now, stop explaining things, and we're going for the demo. Okay. Before we start, some disclaimers, some warnings. Okay, basically now we only support 7 serious branching strategy. I mean, we are including also the anarchy, the non. Okay, but and we have like not 11, we have like 20, which become 49 selection criteria. Okay, I mean this branching selector is always and will always be a working project because actually we are currently testing. We are trying to refine it. Okay, at this time I think it gives us too many options, too many branching strategy as the output, and we want to review the data, the knowledge we have in this software, in order to be more precise. Okay. And we have not tested it on actual projects, and we have not tested it with people who are using them, and we are happy with that. Okay. And this selector will be maintained, will be updated continuously, and your feedback and contributions will be appreciated, of course. Okay. As it is now, it's just a command line Python script. It's not very user friendly because it's supposed to be like an engine. It's like supposed to be like an engine for a web page or for a desktop application. But as it is now, it's just a Python script. Okay. We have not published yet officially. Okay. Here, for the record, I'm publishing this these pages, these URLs. I currently have it only on my personal GitHub, which is listed here. You can email the services department here with this email, and later it may be available in the GitHub from the ERNI Academy. Okay, but this will be not. It's not now, but hopefully in the near future will be. Okay. So when we make a web page, the expected appearance will be like that. You will be selecting some of them, and then when you are selecting, you will see these ones on the left and the right getting in green and getting in red. Okay, this is expected, but as it is now, it's much less graphically and less visual. Okay, okay. So I'm going to make it. Okay, I have this Python here. So okay, you see, we have the script. I can run it. If I run the script, for example, as it is now, if I run it without options, let me. Yeah. If I'm running without options, it just tells me the available branching strategy that it's generating. Okay, and it's telling me to use the -h option to see the how to use it. Okay, so I'm going to do like that. Okay, it's telling me, okay, you can use, for example, -s to select, and also if you know how to select with these L options, it will tell me how many selectors I have available. So I will try this option. Oh yeah, I have to do it with all. Okay, it has all these options, as you can see. Like for example, existing code base, no zero or small, or for example, existing code base. Okay, application type mobile, application type desktop, maintain a single version, integrate with merge, high tolerance of errors in production, release branches not allowed, or release branches allowed. Of course, these two options are incompatible, but at the time there is no control for that. Okay. I have a question here. Okay, okay, I will try to do that. But yeah, you can see them on the com, but I will just wait a second. It's going to go. Yeah, but I need to. It's here on my navigation history. So. Mm, okay, so this is the URL. This is my personal GitHub. It has a documentation. It has some examples how to use it. Okay, and here, but how to paste here. Okay, and also I'm going to paste the emails. Um, it's not here. No, it should be. I have to type it, so it's. Let me check. I have to type it, so I will do that later. Okay, my apologies. Okay. Okay, let's take back to the demo. Okay. So if we have this, okay, I'm going to try to run this example here. The example we saw on these actual examples. Okay. We have a long project duration, 7 to 15 developers, etc. Which should give me gitflow. Okay. Yeah, it's not public. As I said in the presentation, it's not public. Yeah, that's why. But I'm pasting here anyhow. Okay. It will be made public sometime later. Okay. So I'm going to use this example here. You see, from 5 to 13 developers, low test coverage, 2 or more teams or projects, maintain multiple versions, and a long life project. Okay, so I'm running this, and let's see. It tells me, okay, rejected branching strategies. Don't use, for example, gitflow. It has a very low score, -4. You see here. Don't use the single developer version. Don't use anarchy. Okay. Then ranking second, but these ones are not actually not ranking strategies. Okay, so forget about it. Don't use also the trunk-based development, and don't use GitLab flow, and don't use continuous integration. Okay, and for example, the ones with the highest score are GitHub flow and the forking workflow, which is with different code repositories. Okay, oneflow is also a very valid option, and simplified gitflow not so much. Okay, so we have these three which are valid, and basically these two which are not valid. Okay, this would be the reds and this would be the greens. Okay, let's make another example. I have them here. This is for the example number 2 in the presentation. Okay. Okay, you see in the presentation you show, okay, must deliver frequently, 3 developers, no existing code base, only one version, and high test coverage. So we should have it here. Single version. Oh, test coverage high. It's wrong. It's wrong. It should be high, okay? Because then deploy very frequently, and 1 of 3 developers. Okay. This text is bad. Okay. It's better. It's best this one here. Okay. So I'm running here, and let's see what I get. Okay, it's telling me the highest score is for trunk-based development and GitHub flow, as expected. Okay, GitLab flow is also makes a good rating. And which one are rejected? For example, the forking workflow for open source, because of course it's you cannot deploy if your collaborators are around the world, and you talk to them from time to time. Also, it's very bad score. Oneflow and Git and oneflow. Okay. We have another example here, but these ones are not. It's more like random. This one with 2 to 8 developers, deploy frequently, and single version product will be very similar to this one, but with more choices probably. You see, now it recommends basically the same. Okay. Do you have any questions, any examples to ask? You can ask them here. Otherwise, we will continue with this. Okay. As you see, this method of working is intended for passing these options from a graphical user interface. So this text will be automatically linked to the buttons or to the columns, and then you will have them here for the script as the engine. Okay, for the user, for humans, it's not so intuitive to use this user interface, but we have 49 options available. Yeah. Yeah. So Marine asks, is there going to be a more visual version? As I said, yes. I said it here. As I said here, it's expected to be embedded in a web page, okay, and also on a desktop application. Okay? So maybe for next week I can have something like that. Yeah. Any other questions or questions? Any examples? You want to have any examples? Otherwise, I will be more somehow finished. Okay, so then thank you for attending. Oh yeah, I have a question. What do you expect from the user by listing rejected branching strategies. Yeah, of course. It's this. I mean, here the output is you can use the green ones, but you should not use the rejected ones. And why? Why not? Because, as we said here, if you pick a wrong one, it can be worse than not having any strategy at all. That's why we are telling them, okay, you can use these ones, maybe better this one, but you can also use this one, which is, even if it does not have such a high score, if you like it, use it. You can use it, no problem, okay? But don't use these ones because these ones are bad for you. They're going to be bad for you. That's why we list the rejected branching strategies. Okay, the rejected ones and the approved ones. Of course, this one here in this case, it has a very low score, so maybe it would be not a good idea. But if you like it, go ahead. No questions. Exactly. To use them for this case, Marine is asking, are you advising him or her to stop using them? Don't use them for this case, for this input selection, for this criteria. Don't use it in this case. But maybe you can use it for this other case. As we saw this example here, you remember example number 1 and example number 2. In example number 1, the ones which are using are 5, 6, 7, and 8. But if we provide a different project, it's the other way around. We don't use 5, 6, 7, 8, but we use 5, 1, 1, 1, and 3. And before, we cannot use 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So every kind of project has a list of recommended strategies and a list of not recommended, even worse, discouraged. Don't use them. Forbidden. Okay, that's how we would call them. Okay. As we saw here, I will come back with the same example again. In the first example, the example number 1, the recommended one is gitflow, but gitflow is discouraged. Okay, but in the other example, GitHub Flow is encouraged. Okay, yeah. So okay, here you have it. In this page, you can also see some people who have helped me doing this project, and also where I took some of the pictures and information. Okay, tunes which are very funny, and this guy Martin Fowler who provided good things, but there are other pages around. Okay, so that's it. When the people camera. So when oops. So when we have this ready, we will publish here in the ERNI Academy section, or you can contact us if you are interested on that. Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for attending. The videos are available sometime soon in the Twitch, so you can distribute them to your colleagues and you find them interesting. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.